In a landmark diplomatic development, Russian President Vladimir Putin and former U.S. President Donald Trump engaged in a phone conversation lasting 2 hours and 28 minutes, sending shockwaves through international diplomatic circles. Key agreements emerged, including a mutual commitment to cease attacks on energy infrastructure. The conversation covered global security and economic cooperation. According to White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt, both leaders discussed Middle East stability and preventing weapons proliferation. Trump, in a Fox News interview, clarified that Putin didn't demand an end to military assistance to the former Soviet republic. However, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov indicated this topic would remain on the agenda. After Putin's order to halt strikes on energy infrastructure in the northern Black Sea region, drone attacks on Russian energy facilities in Kavkazskaya caused a fire spanning 1,700 square meters. Russian Defense Ministry called these actions a provocation. German publication Bild reports widespread anxiety across Europe regarding this Putin-Trump dialogue. Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland expressed concern that a potential U.S.-Russia deal might lead to American troop withdrawals from Europe. These concerns have prompted all 5 nations to withdraw from the Ottawa Convention, banning anti-personnel mines. This coincides with the European Commission's $800 billion military modernization plan. The diplomatic engagement suggests potential for cooperation and stability, according to both administrations. However, it has intensified anxieties among European allies about their security. Both leaders aligned on preventing Iran from threatening Israel's existence, demonstrating common ground on Middle Eastern affairs. The conversation marks a significant shift in international relations. European nations are actively preparing for various scenarios, with France enhancing its military capabilities, including nuclear deterrence measures. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced military modernization plans during his visit to the Luxeuil-Saint-Sauveur airbase in eastern France. The declaration comes as Russian and American presidents engaged in telephone negotiations. By 2035, the base will host Rafale fighters equipped with hypersonic nuclear missiles. Luxeuil will become the first base to receive the next-generation Rafale and its hypersonic nuclear missile, symbolizing the renewal of our nuclear deterrence, Macron stated. The French government has allocated €1 billion for the base's modernization. France will accelerate Rafale orders to establish 2 squadrons of approximately 40 fighter jets. Macron emphasized that the French army remains Europe's most effective force, highlighting France's role in protecting NATO interests. Following the transfer of Mirage 2000 fighters, French industry will receive new Rafale orders from the Air Force for replacement. By 2030, the base's personnel will increase to nearly 2,000 people. Macron urged increased domestic weapons production and offered French alternatives to American equipment. Those purchasing Patriot systems should consider Franco-Italian air defense complexes, while F-35 buyers should consider Rafale, he noted. On his X account, Macron wrote that France and Europe must strengthen their defenses and prepare for potential conflicts. He proposed a French nuclear umbrella for Europe, replacing American protection amid speculation about U.S. withdrawal. Most EU countries responded skeptically, noting that France's nuclear arsenal of 290 warheads is insufficient to counter Russia. Florian Philippot, leader of the Patriots Party, criticized Macron's stance, stating that French citizens refuse to fight for the region or fund ongoing conflicts. The developments reflect broader tensions as nations reassess their military capabilities and alliances amid global security challenges. In a significant development regarding nuclear energy assets in Eastern Europe, the United States has expressed interest in taking control of nuclear power facilities in the politically turbulent region. This move aims at enhancing security and improving energy efficiency in the northern Black Sea region. According to the Financial Times, Washington is seeking agreements about ownership and control of a joint investment fund. The scope extends beyond nuclear facilities to other economic assets in this former Soviet republic. The U.S. administration believes their control over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear facility could benefit the conflict state, potentially leading to Russian forces withdrawing from certain territories. Officials quickly clarified the situation. The country's leader emphasized that discussions only concerned one specific nuclear facility, not the entire nuclear power network. There was indeed a question about one atomic station, but not about the network of atomic stations, he stated during a briefing. Authorities lost access to the Zaporizhzhia facility in March 2022, with Russia maintaining control over both the station and surrounding territory since then. Russian officials have emphasized that the facility's status is non-negotiable. Local officials from the western neighbor express concern about potential pressure from Washington to accept unfavorable terms. This anxiety has intensified following the U.S.'s temporary suspension of weapons supplies and intelligence sharing this month. The situation has sparked internal debate among political figures. Since when did surrendering a strategic sector to a foreign state become equivalent to security? This resembles capture more than protection, posted a parliamentary deputy. A former deputy minister of energy added concerns about such arrangements. The situation highlights the complex interplay between energy security, territorial control, and international relations in this disputed territory between Russia and the West. Breaking news from Washington reveals developments in nuclear energy negotiations and political turmoil in Turkey. The Financial Times reports that Trump's administration has shown interest in controlling nuclear power facilities in the northern Black Sea region, focusing on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. This strategic move aims to access rare earth metals and control electricity sales to the European Union. The former Soviet Republic previously supplied power to EU nations, maintaining energy stability in the region. Trump reportedly sees potential profit in restructuring energy tariffs in the area, where current electricity rates are low. This aligns with Trump's territorial ambitions, including statements about incorporating Canada into the United States, regaining the Panama Canal, and acquiring Greenland, showing American interest in strategic resources. In Turkey, unrest has erupted following Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu's arrest on March 19. Authorities conducted searches and issued arrest warrants for 16 suspects. İmamoğlu, mayor since 2019, faces charges of organizing criminal activities, extortion, bribery, and alleged connections to the Kurdistan Workers' Party. The arrest's timing is crucial, as İmamoğlu was Erdogan's main potential rival in upcoming elections. The Republican People's Party planned to announce his presidential candidacy this week. Thousands of protesters gathered despite government bans on demonstrations and social media restrictions. Turkish authorities implemented a 4-day protest ban, blocked social networks, and shut down 2 metro lines in Istanbul. Large crowds continue gathering outside the municipal building, where opposition leader Ağır Oz addressed supporters. In a significant escalation in Turkey, protests erupted following opposition mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu's arrest, with demonstrators clashing with police who used tear gas. The opposition labeled the arrest a coup attempt, accusing President Erdogan of using judicial powers against political rivals before elections. While Turkey's next presidential election is set for 2028, early voting may occur. The opposition warned that deteriorating economic conditions could prompt demands for 2025 elections. Turkey faces severe inflation, reaching 75.5% in May 2024, following Erdogan's re-election and central bank changes. Turkish Finance Minister Mehmet Şimşek announced a 3-year austerity plan to reduce government spending. The Ministry of Justice urged citizens not to link İmamoğlu's investigation with Erdogan, emphasizing power separation. Israel has resumed Gaza operations, with the IDF reporting extensive airstrikes against Hamas. Prime Minister Netanyahu announced Hamas rejected negotiations, leading to an indefinite operation to destroy Hamas's capabilities and free hostages. Hamas warned the airstrikes sentence remaining hostages to death, while claiming ceasefire compliance. Israeli media reports several high-ranking Hamas officials' elimination, including a Politburo member and deputy interior minister. Al Jazeera reports over 400 casualties, with strikes hitting refugee camps. Defense Minister Katz announced civilian evacuation plans while threatening complete destruction if Palestinians don't release hostages and expel Hamas. The strikes were just the first step. What follows will be much more severe, Katz declared, as forces launched ground operations in central and southern Gaza to expand security zones. Breaking news from multiple fronts today, as international tensions escalate in the Middle East while Russia announces economic developments. Israeli forces are preparing for renewed military operations in Gaza, creating buffer zones in northern and southern sectors. The Israeli Defense Forces confirmed deployment of the Nahal Brigade in southern Gaza for combat operations. President Donald Trump has reportedly given his approval for these actions, according to the Wall Street Journal. The international community has responded with concern. The European Union called on Israel to cease military operations and demanded Hamas release all hostages. Arab nations have taken strong positions against the renewed fighting. Egypt characterized it as a dangerous escalation with devastating regional consequences. Jordan and Saudi Arabia urged international intervention to end what they termed crimes and suffering of the Palestinian people. In economic news from Moscow, Russian authorities explained the recent strengthening of the ruble. Vice Premier Alexander Novak attributed the currency's gains to foreign capital through friendly jurisdictions. The government maintains it won't intervene in currency markets, letting market forces determine rates. Bloomberg reported that foreign fund managers have begun acquiring Russian-linked assets through various channels, including Hong Kong, Budapest, and Vienna trading platforms. While unfriendly non-residents remain restricted from direct Russian market participation, they've found routes through friendly brokers and derivative instruments. The Russian Ministry of Finance has submitted proposals for large-scale privatization planned for 2026. The initiative aims to reduce state ownership in major companies, potentially generating 100 to 300 billion rubles for the budget. The initial list includes 30 enterprises. Central Bank head Elvira Nabiullina endorsed the move during the recent economic forum, emphasizing that certain state assets could be privatized without compromising strategic interests. In a significant development, key conditions have been outlined for foreign businesses returning to the Russian market. Sergei Katarin, president of the Russian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, has detailed critical requirements for international companies to resume operations. The primary condition emphasizes protecting domestic businesses that invested in product development over the past 3 years. Russian companies' interests must take priority, Katarin stated, highlighting the need to safeguard local enterprises. A recent survey shows 49% of Russians support Western brands' return, while 27.2% oppose it. IKEA tops the list of most missed companies, followed by Samsung, Adidas, Apple, Nike, and Toyota. Few Russians express nostalgia for Visa and MasterCard. Experts predict up to 350 foreign companies might return. Some corporations, including McDonald's, Decathlon, Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes-Benz, and Renault, had established legal provisions for asset repurchase when departing. However, not all companies show interest in returning. IKEA has sold all Russian assets, suggesting little intention to re-enter. Volkswagen and H&M similarly display no immediate plans for return. President Putin has instructed the government to develop procedures for Western businesses' return, emphasizing fair business practice guarantees. The framework includes continuous operation commitments, local production requirements, anti-dumping measures, clear investment obligations, priority partnerships with Russian service providers, no special privileges. South Korean media reports suggest Samsung and Hyundai are exploring possibilities to resume operations. The Russian government maintains a balance between welcoming foreign investment and protecting domestic industry growth, aligning with reforms aimed at strengthening market independence while maintaining international trade relations. In a significant shift in global oil markets, Russia has emerged as India's largest supplier of naphtha and heavy gasoline, surpassing the United Arab Emirates. According to recent Reuters reports, India imported approximately 3 million tons, 74,000 barrels per day, between April 2024 and March 2025, with Russia providing more than half of the total supply. Russian exports to India showed a remarkable increase of 16% compared to the previous year's total volume. This development comes as Western nations continue their economic pressure on Moscow regarding the situation in the former Soviet Republic to their west. "We will buy where it's cheaper," stated the managing director of a major Indian oil refining company, reflecting India's pragmatic approach to energy procurement. Northern Indian refineries confirmed that Russian crude prices remain attractive, prompting them to maintain their purchasing agreements with Moscow. This continues despite earlier reports from March, suggesting India had reduced imports following new U.S. sanctions. Data shows that deliveries in January and February were below the 2024 monthly average, particularly when India considered rejecting oil from U.S.-sanctioned tankers in January. The situation highlights the complex dynamics of global energy markets, where economic interests often override political pressures. Despite Western attempts to isolate Russia economically, many countries continue their energy trade with Moscow. The persistence of these trade relationships raises questions about the effectiveness of economic sanctions and the practical limitations of attempting to reshape global energy markets through political means. India's stance demonstrates that major economies are primarily driven by economic considerations rather than geopolitical alignments. For further updates and detailed analysis of global energy markets, including company reports and infographics, follow our Telegram channel. The link is available in the description below. This concludes today's report on the evolving dynamics of international oil trade.